A very long time ago there was balance in the universe. Balance doesn't mean anything per se, but that it means balance. The universe was not structured as now, it was structured in galaxies, which we now would call a universe, each one of them representing like a petal of a flower, a particular expression. You had a galaxy or a universe, whatever you want to call it. I mean, the name is really irrelevant. We had one that was expressing as crystals, one as sound, one as water, one as mathematics. You had all the facets you now have intermingled. It was like there were societies of it. It was expressions of it. Now, to maintain that balance, an interesting thing was necessary, because that was all that was understood. What was understood is that for movement to occur, energy is required, and that energy would move as a form of polarity. And that polarity would be done in a curious way by having a single being stand as God, as king, which was fascinatingly enough a particular DNA lineage that stood as that. So that means this out of the same king, the same principle that you now have in terms of kings and of tribes and things like that. You had the same principle then. And the very fact that that being stood there, everyone believing that that was the point of balance, the balance existed. So as long as that, and then in every galaxy it was like that. There was a royal house, so to speak, that maintained the balance of everything. And there were peace, and there were a certain level of equality. And what was honored above all was choice, free will, the choice to express yourself, the choice of the individuality. And within that, obviously, a fascinating point that was understood then was that one must support each other. So the interconnectedness of everything was supported through the choice. Beings would make a choice to support each other through the principle of supporting each other, but there was a specialness about the choice. The specialness was that you could make the choice to support somebody. Then a strange thing occurred. A very strange thing. One day, the question was asked, why could everyone not balance themselves? Why is the balance separate from everyone? What is the point? That is not understand. Why do you have an inequality where something like a God is required to maintain the balance, to maintain the balance in choice? Understand at that stage already, beings or people, you could call them man. At that stage it was not you man, it was man. Man existed very much as they do today, in a way that they were all coming from planets, from like we come from the dust of the earth. They were, then if they're in a crystal universe or galaxy, they will be crystal-like, and in their form and in their in their expression and their skills and everything is related to what they are coming from. They would emerge in essence from the substance which they are aware they are finding themselves from, the, call it the planet or that particular galaxy or universe. And their skill would be specific. Obviously, at that stage, things like sexuality, as you understand it today, did not exist. I mean, it was a point of beings coming together as a mother and a father. The family construct did exist. That would, in their merging, in their expression of support of each other, would make it possible for a place of support, a place of consideration, a place of, you can call it love, to exist, for a being to emerge into existence. But then again, beings also died, so in a way the being emerging was someone or someone that's been there before. It's like reincarnation. Very much of the reincarnation was in effect a continuation rather than a form of paying for something you've done right or wrong, because right and wrong per se did not exist. What existed was simply balance. There was an understanding that everything in existence actually existed in balance. There was not nature as you would understand it now, because the expression was quite absolute from that perspective, as the point of balance was absolute, which means in terms of how it existed, it had an absolute effect on the balanced expression of everyone that was here as the here of then. In the question that emerged on why is everyone not equal, the point was then approached to consider the equality of everyone and change the point of balance. That immediately emerged as quite an interesting point, which was seen as unacceptable. It was seen as an atrocity to change what is here, because what is here was apparently the only answer, and it was working from the perspective of everyone participating. What was not understood, obviously, is that the only reason it was working is because of the submission of everyone to the particular system. And in the acceptance of that, obviously, there was the point that there was inequality. There was not the actuality of equality.